Today's objective is solving multi-step inequalities. Very important concept number one. When solving multi-step inequalities, your procedure is the same as equations. Okay, it's the exact same thing that we've done with multi-step equations. However, there is a special note on VIC number 2. Very important concept number 2. When multiplying and dividing by a negative number, okay, it is only when you are multiplying or dividing by a negative number you flip the sign. Okay, so greater than would become less than, and then less than would become greater than, but only when you divide by a negative number. Okay, so your steps to solve remain the same. You need to make sure you distribute first. You clear the inequality of fractions. Remember, that is optional, but it does help us. Get the variable on one side and the numbers on the other, and then get the variable by itself. All things that we did with multi-step equations. Examples, okay? These are just multi-step inequalities. The first thing we do is distribute, okay? So you would end up with 2t plus 4 minus 3t being greater than or equal to negative 1, okay? If we combine like terms, 2t and negative 3t are like terms, so I end up with minus 1t plus 4 being greater than a negative 1. I subtract 4 from both sides, and negative 1t would be greater than or equal to negative 5. Notice that I divide by a negative 1, because that's what's next to my t. Because of the fact that I divide by a negative number, okay, my sign is going to flip. So therefore, t would be, instead of greater than or equal to, it would be less than or equal to 5. Okay, we can check this by taking, because it could be equal to 5, we can actually use 5 and plug 5 into my equation to check. You would see, if you did that, that negative 1 would be greater than or equal to negative 1. Well, that's a true statement because negative 1 and negative 1 are equal. So we're fine. That checks out. Okay. Number 2. Again, we have to do the distributive property first. Okay. So 4p plus 2p plus 14 would be less than 8. Okay, combine your like terms. We have 4p and 2p, which gives us 6p. Subtract 14 from both sides. Now, keep in mind when we divide here, we're dividing by 6. We are not dividing by a negative number. So therefore, our sign is not going to flip. So p would be less than negative 1. Okay? Because p is less than negative 1, p cannot be negative 1. So we cannot plug negative 1 into our check. Okay, we have to plug in the number less than negative 1. And the first number less than negative 1 is negative 2. Okay, so we plug in negative 2 for p instead. If we were to do that, we would get 2 being less than 8. That is a true statement, so check, it works. So let's work out some practice problems. If I can get my boards to stay up here. Let's work out some practice problems. We did the first one for you up here. Okay. The rules remain the same. You have to make sure that you get the variables on one side. Okay. This one comes out being z is less than 13. Okay. Let's look at number 2. Again, I need to get all my, there is no distributive property here. Do not touch that. I need to get all my variables to one side. Okay? So I'm going to add 2b to both sides. Okay? So I would end up with 5b plus 12 being greater than 27. Okay? So from there, I would subtract 12. 5b is going to be greater than 15. Okay. Divide by 5. That's not 5. And b would be greater than 3. Okay. Let's look at number 3. We must distribute first. So we have negative 12 plus 3m is greater than 8m plus 4. Again, we have to get all our variables to one side and all of our numbers to the other. It does not matter which side you want to put them on. Okay? I'm going to choose to put my variables over here and my numbers over here. So I'm going to subtract 8m. So this is 12 minus 5m is going to be greater than 4. Okay. So then I am going to subtract, oops, this is a negative 12, excuse me. Make sure you bring that negative sign. I'm going to add 12 to both sides. Negative 5m would be greater than 16. And then I would divide by a negative 5. Now, if I am dividing by this negative number down here, I need to flip my sign. Okay? So what I am going to have here is that m instead is going to be less than negative 16 over 5. Now, 16 does not divide by 5 evenly, which is why I left it as a fraction. Okay, and it's okay to have fractional answers. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as it checks out. Okay, let's look at number 4. I must distribute first. Okay, so if I distribute here and here, negative 6x, because this and this are both negative, I'm going to have plus 24. It's going to be bigger than 14x minus 21. Okay. Again, I put my variables on one side and my numbers on the other. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and subtract 14x from both sides. It does not matter which side you put them on. So negative 6, negative 14 gives me a negative 20x plus 24 being greater than a negative 21. If I subtract 24 from both sides, okay, I end up with a negative 20x being greater than a negative 45. Okay, and then I divide by a negative 20. Now again, notice that the number I am dividing by is a negative number. Because that is the case, my sign must flip. X would be less than, and negative divided by a negative is a positive, so 45 over 20. Now, I can simplify that to be 9/4. So x would be less than 9/4. We, of course, have word problems that also go along with this, real world problems. So let's talk about this. Dave is a sales associate. Each week, he earns $250 plus a commission of his sales. This week, his goal is to earn no less than $460. So he can earn more than that, but he can't earn less than that. Write and solve an inequality to find the dollar amount of sales he must have to meet his goals. Okay. Keep in mind that commission is extra money that is typically added to the end of somebody's salary based on a percentage of what they have sold. Okay, so if you're a good salesman, your commission is going to be higher because you're going to get more, you're going to get a percentage of the money that you've sold. Okay, so let's make X the amount of sales, or how much he sells in a week. Okay, now we need to know that 3%, in order to put it into the equation, I need to make it a decimal, and in order to do that, I need to move my decimal point backwards 2 places. So 0.03 and 3% are the same thing. Okay, so we know that he's going to earn $250. Okay, that's baseline, that he's going to get that money. Okay, then he's going to earn commission. So he's going to get $250 plus 3% of whatever he sold. Okay. And he wants that to be more than or equal to $460. Okay. So to solve, I'm going to subtract 250. I would get 300x is greater than or equal to 210. Divide by 300. He has to sell at least $7,000 worth of merchandise in order to earn what he wants to earn for the week.